One dirty engine is dying right now in your driveway. Not from age, not from mileage. From an $11 mistake, dealers profit off of every single day. 70% of engine replacements are completely preventable. Dealers know this. That $4,000 engine job, one $12 additive, and one habit. Tokyo cab drivers have been proving it for decades. 1 million kilometers on a single original engine. No replacements, no rebuilds. Today I'm exposing the exact method step by step. Some of these cost nothing. Some dealers actively tell you are unnecessary. And the last one? It's what Japanese fleet mechanics quietly do to their own engines, and dealers are praying you never find out. Stick around. The final step costs $12 and is the difference between a 200,000 kilometer engine and a 1 million kilometer legend. Number 15. The 5,000 kilometer oil dictatorship. Let's start by destroying the biggest lie in the modern automotive manual, the 15,000 kilometer oil change interval. Dealerships sell this as a low maintenance perk to get you to buy the car. They tell you synthetic oil is so advanced it lasts forever. They are lying. The Japanese mechanics who push engines to 1 million kilometers operate on a strict, unyielding 5,000 kilometer interval. Here is the physics behind it. Yes, full synthetic oil does not break down thermally as fast as conventional oil, but oil does not just lubricate, it suspends contaminants. Every time your engine fires, microscopic carbon blow by, unburned fuel, and metal shavings slip past the piston rings and enter the oil pan. By 10,000 kilometers, your oil is no longer a lubricant, it is a liquid abrasive. It is liquid sandpaper running directly through your delicate engine bearings. Oil is the cheapest insurance policy you will ever buy. A $40 oil change prevents a $6,000 engine replacement. Ignore the manual. Change it at 5,000 kilometers. But if you think old oil is what kills your car, wait until you hear the lie they tell you about the fluids you can't see. Number 14. The lifetime fluid scam. You read your owner's manual, and it proudly states your automatic transmission has lifetime fluid. It is a sealed unit. You never have to change it. This is the most brilliant predatory marketing term ever invented. When the manufacturer says lifetime, they do not mean your lifetime. They mean the lifetime of the factory warranty. Once the car hits 150,000 kilometers and the warranty expires, that fluid has reached the end of its lifetime. The transmission violently fails, and you have to hand them $4,000 for a new one. Japanese preventative maintenance completely rejects this. There is no such thing as a lifetime fluid. Inside your transmission are dozens of clutch packs made of friction material. Every time the car shifts, microscopic pieces of that material shear off and float in the fluid. The fluid is also subjected to massive heat loads, which breaks down its viscosity. The million-kilometer secret is performing a simple drain and fill on the transmission every 40,000 kilometers. You do not do a high-pressure flush that destroys the valves. You simply pull the plug, drain the 3 quarts sitting in the pan, and refill it with fresh OEM fluid. But treating the fluids is only half the battle. The next habit dictates exactly what happens in the first crucial seconds after you turn the key. Before we get there, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. You'll be glad you did. Now, let's go. Number 13. The cold start dwell time. 90% of all engine wear occurs within the first 10 seconds of starting the car. When your car sits overnight, gravity pulls all the oil out of the engine block and down into the oil pan. When you turn the key in the morning, the top half of your engine, the camshafts and valves, is essentially bone dry. Most Western drivers turn the key, immediately shift into drive, and smash the gas pedal. You are grinding bare metal against bare metal at 2,000 revolutions per minute. The Japanese method strictly utilizes the cold start dwell. When you start the car, you do not touch the gear shifter, and you do not touch the throttle. You sit there for exactly 30 to 45 seconds. You listen to the engine. When the car first starts, the RPMs will flare up to around 1,500 to run the oil pump at maximum pressure. After about 30 seconds, you will hear and feel the RPMs physically drop down to a smooth 800 RPM idle. That drop is the mechanical signal that the thick, cold oil has fully circulated to the top of the cylinder head. Only then do you shift into gear. You don't need to let it idle for 10 minutes like our grandfathers did in the winter. That actually causes fuel dilution, but you must give it those critical 30 seconds. But while you are waiting for that oil to pump, there is a hidden $15 piece of plastic under your hood that is actively planning to blow your engine seals to pieces. Number 12. The PCV valve time bomb. Ask 10 drivers what a PCV valve is, and 9 will look at you blankly. Positive crankcase ventilation. It is a tiny $15 plastic valve plugged into the top of your engine block. When your engine runs, it creates immense internal air pressure. The PCV valve opens to vent that explosive pressure safely back into the intake. The problem? Dealerships almost never put the PCV valve on their standard maintenance schedules. They completely ignore it. In Japan, preventative maintenance routines mandate replacing the PCV valve every 50,000 kilometers. You can do it yourself in 3 minutes. You literally pull a rubber hose off, unscrew the plastic valve with a wrench, and screw a new $15 OEM valve in. I had a buddy whose engine was hemorrhaging oil from every gasket. The dealer told him the engine was blown. He replaced the clogged PCV valve, the internal pressure normalized, and the leaks completely stopped. He saved thousands of dollars. But while replacing small parts saves gaskets, the next Japanese philosophy prevents the most catastrophic failure your engine can suffer. Number 11. Preventative engine pathology. In the West, we treat car maintenance like emergency room triage. We drive the car until a dashboard light comes on, or until we hear a horrible knocking sound, and then we take it in to see what broke. By then, the damage is already done. The Japanese fleet method treats maintenance like preventative medicine. You don't wait for a devastating pathology report to tell you the organ has already failed. You run tests to catch the invisible markers early. They do this through used oil analysis, UOA. They aren't looking at the oil, they are looking at the microscopic metal suspended inside it. If they see a sudden spike in copper and lead, they know your main engine bearings are failing, long before they actually spin and destroy the block. If they see potassium and sodium, they know you have a microscopic coolant leak in your head gasket that hasn't even shown up on the temperature gauge yet. You catch the pathology while it's still a minor repair, not a $7,000 engine replacement. It takes the guesswork completely out of maintenance, but you can run all the tests in the world, and it won't matter if you fall for the cheap parts trap that mechanics use to cut costs. Number 10. The OEM filter mandate. Walk into any big box auto parts store and you will see shelves full of $5 oil filters. They look perfectly fine on the outside. They are heavy, they are painted a nice bright orange or yellow, and they claim to filter out 99% of dirt. If you cut one of those cheap aftermarket filters open, you will find out exactly why mechanics use them to maximize their profit margins. Inside, the filter media is nothing but cheap, thin, glued together cardboard. Here is the secret danger. Every oil filter has an internal bypass valve. When the oil is thick and cold in the morning, or when the filter gets clogged, that valve springs open to let unfiltered oil bypass the paper so the engine doesn't starve. On a $5 aftermarket filter, that internal spring is weak and poorly calibrated. It often gets stuck wide open. For thousands of kilometers, your engine is circulating completely unfiltered, dirty oil straight through the delicate bearings. The million-kilometer rule is absolute. Only use OEM filters bought directly from the dealer parts counter. Yes, a Toyota or Honda factory filter costs $12 instead of $5. But inside it uses high-density synthetic glass blended media, and the bypass valve is machined to the exact PSY specifications of your specific engine's oil pump. An extra $7 twice a bricomitse. Year is the difference between an engine that lasts a decade and an engine that slowly grinds itself to dust. But keeping the oil clean is useless if the engine block itself is rotting from the inside out. Number 9. The coolant pH test. We all know to check the coolant level. If it is pink, blue, or green, and sitting between the min and max lines on the plastic reservoir, most drivers assume everything is perfect. But coolant is a volatile chemical mix. It doesn't just prevent freezing and boiling. It contains highly specific anti-corrosion additives designed to protect the bare aluminum inside your engine block and the delicate fins of your water pump. Over time, through thousands of heat cycles, those protective chemical additives completely break down. The color stays exactly the same, so it looks fine to the naked eye. But chemically, the fluid actually turns highly acidic. Once your coolant goes acidic, it acts like a mild battery acid. It begins to literally eat away the aluminum engine block from the inside out through a process called electrolysis. It rots the water pump impeller, dissolves the head gasket seals, and rusts the heater core behind your dashboard. You prevent this with a $5 pack of pH test strips. Once a year, you dip a strip into the coolant reservoir. If the pH level drops below 7.0, the coolant has turned acidic. You immediately flush the entire system and replace it. And speaking of fluids, the way you manage the liquid in your fuel tank dictates whether you will be stranded on the side of the highway next week. Number 8. The quarter tank rule. We all do it. We are running late, gas is expensive, and we push the car until the low fuel light starts screaming at us from the dashboard. We drive it down to the absolute fumes. If you want to reach 1,000,000 kilometers, you must completely eradicate this habit. The Japanese rule is strict. The quarter tank mark is the new empty line. Your car has an electronic fuel pump submerged directly inside the plastic gas tank. This pump works incredibly hard, spinning at high RPMs to push fuel up to the engine block under massive pressure. Because it works so hard, the electric motor generates a tremendous amount of heat. The engineers cleverly designed the system so that the actual liquid gasoline in the tank acts as a liquid coolant for the pump motor. When you consistently drive with less than a quarter tank of gas, the electric pump is exposed to the air. It is no longer submerged in its coolant. It begins to overheat heat rapidly. You are actively cooking the electric motor. Eventually, the motor seizes, the car stalls dead in the middle of an intersection, and you are staring at a $900 repair bill because the mechanic has to literally drop the entire gas tank out of the bottom of the car to replace the burned out pump. Treat a quarter tank as empty, keep the pump submerged, keep it cool, and it will last the entire life of the vehicle. But while you are babying the fuel pump, you might be unintentionally suffocating the engine. Sometimes, you have to drive aggressively to save the car. Number 7. The Japanese Italian tune-up. This sounds completely counterintuitive to everything we have discussed about being gentle with your car. But to make modern engines survive, you cannot baby them 100% of the time. Almost all modern cars use direct injection, GDI. Instead of spraying fuel over the intake valves to wash them clean, the injectors spray fuel directly into the cylinder. Because the valves are dry, oil vapor from the PCV system bakes onto the back of the intake valves. The preventative measure is a controlled, deliberate, high RPM run. Once a month, when the car is fully up to operating temperature, you take it to an empty highway on-ramp. You put the pedal straight to the floor and let the engine redline through second and third gear. The immense heat, maximum cylinder pressure, and high-velocity airflow actively burn and blow the loose carbon deposits out through the exhaust system before they have a chance to harden into rock. You aren't abusing the engine, you are exercising it. Engines are designed to reverend. If you only ever drive your car at 2,000 revolutions per minute to the grocery store, it will choke itself to death on its own carbon. But the way you drive doesn't just affect the engine internals, it completely dictates the survival of the transmission, especially if you live in a dense city. Number 6. Severe duty schedules and traffic mitigation. Read the fine print in the back of your owner's manual. The manufacturer's maintenance schedule is based on normal operating conditions. They define normal as driving on a flat, empty highway at 55 miles per hour in 70-degree weather. When you idle in heavy heat, the ambient temperature under the hood skyrockets. The oil degrades twice as fast. The transmission fluid cooks. The engine cooling fans run constantly, straining the alternator. The million-kilometer secret is recognizing your true environment and cutting the manual's maintenance intervals in half. If the manual says change the air filter every 30,000 kilometers, but you drive in dusty, polluted city traffic, you change it at 15,000. Dealerships will happily let you follow the normal schedule in a severe environment because they know the heat and friction will wear out your drivetrain exactly as the warranty expires. Be honest about your commute and maintain the car for the reality of the road, not the fantasy in the manual. And navigating that traffic requires a specific mindset, one that most Western drivers completely lack. Number 5. Anticipation and gear discipline. Western drivers drive strictly reactively. They accelerate hard until they see brake lights, and then they slam on the brakes. They do this hundreds of times a day. This sends massive, violent shockwaves through the entire drivetrain. It snaps engine mounts, destroys brake pads in 20,000 kilometers, and puts immense shear force on the transmission gears. The Japanese driving philosophy is built on extreme anticipation. You have to approach the road thinking 3 moves ahead, analyzing the board like an avid chess player. You do not race to a red light. If you see traffic stopping a quarter mile ahead, you take your foot completely off the accelerator and let the vehicle's natural momentum carry you. You utilize engine braking, allowing the natural compression of the cylinders to slow the car down smoothly, rather than relying entirely on the friction of the brake pads. By anticipating the flow of traffic, you avoid unnecessary downshifts, you keep the transmission temperature low, and you prevent the suspension components from diving violently forward. But all the smooth driving in the world won't save you from a mechanic armed with the wrong tool. Number 4. The spark plug torque spec trap. At 100,000 kilometers, it is time to change the spark plugs. It is a simple job. Many people do it themselves, or take it to a cheap corner mechanic. The mechanic grabs his heavy socket wrench, drops the new spark plug into the engine block, and cranks down on it as hard as humanly possible to make sure it is tight. He just destroyed your engine. Modern engine blocks are made of soft aluminum. Spark plugs are made of hard steel. If you over-tighten a steel plug into an aluminum cylinder head, you will completely strip the threads right out of the block. The next time the engine fires, the compression will literally shoot the spark plug out of the engine like a bullet, destroying the ignition coil and blowing a hole in your hood. The repair requires a machine shop to drill out the head, tap new threads, and install steel inserts. It is a $2,500 nightmare caused by 10 seconds of laziness. The absolute rule is to use a calibrated torque wrench. Every spark plug has a highly specific torque specification, usually around 14 to 18 foot-pounds. You tighten it exactly to that number and not a single millimeter further. If a mechanic comes near your engine block with an air impact gun to change spark plugs, take your keys and run. And speaking of delicate systems, if your car has a turbocharger, you are probably shutting it down completely wrong. Number 3. The turbocharger. Idle letdown. Smaller, turbocharged engines are everywhere now. To get big power out of small engines, manufacturers use exhaust gases to spin a turbine that forces compressed air into the engine. Here is the mechanical reality. That turbocharger turbine spins at upwards of 150,000 revolutions per minute. Because it is powered by hot exhaust gas, the metal housing regulates regularly exceeds 1000 degrees Fahrenheit. It glows cherry red. The only thing keeping it from melting is a steady flow of engine oil pumping through its central bearing. Pull off the highway after a long drive, park in your driveway, and immediately turn the key off. The second the engine stops, the oil pump stops. But that turbocharger is still spinning at 50,000 revolutions per minute, and it is still 1000 degrees. Without the flow of fresh oil to cool it, the oil trapped inside the turbo bearing instantly boils, burns, and turns into hard, abrasive carbon coke. Do this enough times, and the carbon destroys the bearing. The turbo seizes, shatters, and sends metal shrapnel directly into the engine intake. A $3,000 catastrophe. The million-kilometer rule for turbos is the idle letdown. When you park after a hard drive, you let the engine idle for exactly 30 to 60 seconds before turning the key off. This allows the turbine to slow down and allows the oil pump to circulate cooler oil through the housing, bringing the temperature down to a safe level. But preventing heat damage is just one part of the equation. The next trick catches massive leaks before they happen. Number 2, the engine bay washdown diagnostic. If you open the hood of an average 10-year-old Western car, the engine is covered in a thick layer of black grease, road dust, and dried leaves. Drivers are terrified to touch it, assuming they will break an electrical wire. In Japan, preventative maintenance mandates keeping the engine bay absolutely spotless. This is not about aesthetics. It is a critical diagnostic tool. When an engine is caked in an inch of dirt and grease, you cannot see anything. If a valve cover gasket starts weeping oil or a power steering line develops a pinhole leak, the fluid just absorbs into the existing dirt. You won't know there is a leak until the system runs completely dry and the power steering pump violently seizes on the highway. By taking a simple can of engine degreaser and a low-pressure hose to carefully wash down the plastic covers and metal block once a year, you reset the canvas. Now, if a microscopic drop of fresh, green coolant leaks out of the water pump housing, it instantly stands out against the clean metal. You spot the failure when it is a $10 gasket, not after it blows out entirely and causes a $1,000 overheat. Cleanliness is the highest form of mechanical visibility, which brings us to the final, master philosophy that separates the cars that die at 100,000 kilometers from the cars that run forever. Number 1, the philosophy of mechanical empathy. There are two types of people behind the wheel: operators and drivers. An operator treats a vehicle like an appliance. They get in, turn it on, mash the pedals, and ignore the machine until a red light flashes on the dashboard. They have absolutely zero connection to the physics happening under the hood. A true driver possesses mechanical empathy. This is the ultimate Japanese secret. It means you actually listen to your car. You turn the radio off for the first 5 minutes of your commute. You feel the vibration of the steering wheel. You listen to the specific pitch of the starter motor. If the car hesitates for a fraction of a second when shifting from second to third gear, an operator ignores it. A driver with mechanical empathy recognizes that the transmission fluid viscosity has changed, or the shift solenoid is sticking. They investigate the symptom before it becomes a terminal disease. If the brake pedal feels slightly softer than it did yesterday, you don't just push harder. You recognize that there is moisture in the brake lines, or a master cylinder failing. Cars do not die instantly. They cry out for help for thousands of kilometers through tiny vibrations, faint squeaks, and subtle hesitations. The million-kilometer mark is achieved by the people who actually listen to those cries. If this video just saved your transmission or taught you how to finally protect your engine from premature death, hit that subscribe button right now. Like this video. We are building a community of drivers who refuse to be scammed by the industry. There's a video popping up on your screen right now exposing the 5 maintenance scams dealerships use to illegally void your factory warranty. Click it before you forget. I will meet you over there.